Hello everyone, I'm David Peter. It's Monday, July 23rd, and welcome to It's the Fun. To begin the video, I want to start with a quote by President Barack Obama. "There is no excuse for not trying. A change is brought about because ordinary people do extraordinary things. While we breathe, we will hope. We are the change we've been waiting for." Now, this past weekend, there was a shooting in Colorado. Now, I don't know if anybody remembers, but just last year, there was a shooting in Tucson in 2011, with Gabrielle Giffords being the main focus of that story. Now, it's just been 1 year since the last shooting. People are just going to these venues and just start shooting people up. And the last one was a year ago. What, are we going to have another one in 6 months? I mean, what? There's something wrong happening, and there's something that's happening to students. There's something that's happening to young people that think that they can fix something or they can change the world by doing this. There's something wrong. And everybody wants to talk about how they were deranged, how they were mentally unstable, but James Holmes wasn't mentally unstable. He wasn't. From the reports that I've read, there wasn't any behavior that his classmates noticed. I remember watching the news, and they were interviewing people who lived next to him, and one guy just said he was just a regular guy. He was just like everybody else. He was a regular guy. There was nothing off about him. And then there was a mother who said that she knew him when he was younger, and said that something to the effect of how he was always really quiet. He never talked to any of the kids around him, and as he grew up, she watched him as he grew up, and her sons just became sociable and went into met different people and went into different groups. Well, I bet you're a proud mother. I mean, your kid got up and, from the very beginning, kindergarten, was a sociable kid, knew how to talk to other kids. But how do you know if your kid wasn't one of the kids who made fun of this kid when he was younger? Maybe he was the reason why he decided not to say anything, because every single time he thought about talking, he'd get made fun of, or they'd bully him, or he would get called stupid. And I don't mean to defend the behavior of these kids, but just to say he was quiet, or to say that, he never had never had any friends, leads to this kind of behavior. That's wrong. Because I was one of those kids. I was one of those kids in kindergarten who never had any friends. First grade, never had any friends. Second grade, never had any friends. Third grade, never had any friends. Fourth grade, never had any friends. Fifth grade, never had any friends. Sixth grade, started to meet new people, but never really had any friends. Seventh grade, was starting to break out of my shell, but still never had any friends. I was the weird kid in the cafeteria reading a Bible. Eighth grade, that's when I started to realize I'm coming out of my shell, and I met people who were anime geeks, who liked, drawing, and I was the art nerd at school. I could do a portrait of somebody, but I was quiet, and I was bullied, and I was made fun of. I would say something, and someone would be like, "Oh, well, whatever," make side comments. I was one of those kids. And when you grow up having no friends, being made fun of, there are two different routes you can go. One, you can be really, really shy and introverted and say, "I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to be made fun of. I don't want to be made the butt of a joke." Or you can become a bully and assimilate with those groups of people who are doing the same thing to you and say, "I'm going to do the same thing to somebody else because it makes me feel better. Because now I'm like the rest of them. I'm okay. I'm normal because I'm making fun of somebody else. I'm like these group of people." And I'm not saying that it's okay to bully, but I'm saying that this is what the way that these kids are getting treated, this is the behavior that they absorb or they assimilate into. We have a really, really serious problem of bullying in this country. I mean, it's not just, kids who are different, and by different I mean by kids who go outside the gender binary of male or female that have been getting made fun of. I mean, we've had a lot of kids that have committed suicide because they're being bullied because they were gay. But it's not just homosexuality. It's not just, the fact that these kids are different because they like boys, or the other boys who like boys, or girls who like girls, or whatever. It's not just that. It's that these kids start off at a bad place. And they don't know how to get out of that bad place. How did I do it? I went to an art school. I went to a school where there were plenty of people just like me. I was blessed to go to that school. Plenty of people like me. It was an art magnet school. And I was with plenty of kids who were just as strange as I was. And it was okay. I never assimilated to anything. I was with those group of people, and we could be as weird as we wanted. We were the art nerds. But I wasn't a nerd at that school. You see how the majority and the minority really makes a difference? Because at the schools that I was going to, I was the minority. I was the weird one. But when I went to a school where all of the weird kids were at, then we were the majority. And it wasn't weird to like the things that we liked. It wasn't strange. It wasn't off. It wasn't, oh, that kid's got something wrong with him. He's quiet. He's whatever. There wasn't anything wrong with our behaviors. And it wasn't until then that I really became... it's difficult to say, but it's that I became proud, or not necessarily proud, but comfortable. It wasn't until then that I was completely comfortable. But the point is, this kid was going to a med school. He was a med school student. He was 24, and as an artist, I can only imagine the kind of stress this guy, he's not a kid, this man was going through, at 24, and he also was in the highest of his class. Now, something happened to this guy. I don't know what. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not going to psychoanalyze the guy. But I'm saying that the way that we talk about these kinds of incidents are extremely important. And for you to write off this kid as just saying, oh, he was the creepy, quiet kid, is a problem. Because anytime you say that, oh, this kind of behavior is not normal, or the way that you act is not normal, do you have any idea what that does to a person? That what you are is not normal? The way you normally behave is not normal? Maybe he had a psychological issue. But from his track record, nothing happened. There was nothing specific that showed this, and that's what everyone always says. Oh, there's nothing on his record. There's nothing there that suggested he would come to this kind of solution to deal with his problems. That's what everybody always says when these things happen. The point I'm trying to get to you is the language that we use to talk about these kinds of issues has a direct effect on how kids learn how to manage, or how kids perceive themselves. In human behavior is different for everyone. What I do and what Jane Fonda does are two completely different things. The way I live my life and the way she lives her life, I don't even know Jane Fonda, but you get the point. The way I live my life and the way she lives her life is completely different. The way I live my life and the way my brother lives his life is completely different. My mother, my father, my cousin, my aunt, my grandmother. We all are different. And his mother said to the public, you have the right person. You have the right person. How do you begin to make a statement like that? As a mother, as someone who saw this child grow up. She knew he had this capacity, this ability to snap and just, I'm gonna shoot everybody up today kind of mood. Because that's what he did. He got up and he said, I'm gonna shoot people up today. Knowing that he's like this, knowing that he had this in him, what did you do? You make a comment on TV and say you have the right person. Moms or fathers or grandmas or grandfathers or brothers taking care of your sisters. Talk to one another. Please listen to people. As parents, as brothers, as sisters, as people in general. If someone sits down to talk to you, listen to them. And if anything else, if you don't want to listen to anything else I have to say, but let me tell you something. If you sit down and befriend that quiet kid, if that quiet kid decides to shoot up the school, he's going to let your ass live. Excuse me. He's going to let you live. Because you took the time to listen and talk to him. It happened in Columbine. There has not been a psychological report on John Holmes released as of yet. But I don't necessarily need one. There have been 2 cases of shootings within a year of each other. A little more than a year. And a massive suicides by young teens because of bullying. It doesn't take a genius to put all those together and realize there's something wrong with youth. There's something that we're losing. There's something that we're out of touch with the youth. And I think it starts with the fact that no one is listening. There's a lot of noise in the world. Whether it be your 2 jobs you're holding down, sometimes your parents are constantly working. You don't have anyone to talk to at home. You don't have a grandfather. You don't have a grandmother to talk to, a brother or a sister. And sometimes you might not even have friends to talk to. Public schools, private schools, colleges, there needs to be a place where people can be heard. And if you're not heard with a quiet voice, you're going to start to scream. Everything is going to come out all at once. And I believe that's what happened to John Holmes. I think he was sick of being quiet and decided to scream. Because no one was listening. And when his mother says, you have the right person, that just tells me she wasn't listening. Because if she was listening, he wouldn't have had the need to scream as loud as he did. So for this Monday's video, if you haven't caught on yet, the point of this video is to listen to people. Leave an ear open. And just let people talk, without voicing your own opinion, interrupting their thought with yours. Let people talk. Let people release that inner tension. Let people show you who they are, without you putting yourself into it. There is no excuse for not trying. A change is brought about because ordinary people do extraordinary things. While we breathe, we will hope. We are the change we have been waiting for. I'm David Peter. Thank you for watching, and make sure to watch the rest of It's the Fun this week. Take care.